Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of my 3-part series on the characters of Jujutsu Kaisen. If you haven't checked out the Nobara video I put out a week ago... 4 months ago? Holy sh!
The flow of time itself is convoluted.
Then be sure to check that out after this video. Today we're getting to all things Megumi Fushiguro, so buckle up, practice your hand signs, and let's jump in for a little refresher before Season 2 explodes onto the scene. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Megumi is one of the first characters introduced to us early in episode 1, and despite comparisons early on to Sasuke from Naruto, I think based on his attitude, approachability, and demeanor, this is very much so not the case. Though stylistically, I believe Gege Akutami may have designed him in this way to turn the brooding, misunderstood, angsty teen trope on its head later on as more about Megumi came to be understood. One thing is for sure though, Megumi is serious when it comes to fighting curses, and as early as episode 1 will take it upon himself to eradicate them wherever they are. This line of behavior isn't to prove that he's the strongest or a way to test his strength. He simply doesn't want to see anyone good die. Himself saying that he believes Jujutsu sorcerers exist to ensure that kind-hearted people are given a better chance to survive in this world. This rather pure motivation, along with his unique ability, 10 shadow curses, makes Fushiguro rather formidable if not somewhat reckless. In fact, Fushiguro's raw talent is enough to draw the attention of Gojo sensei, undoubtedly the world's greatest sorcerer, and the king of curses himself, Sukuna, from the onset of the series.
Okay, but this is just divine. Exquisite.
Obviously, something's up with these abilities, so let's talk about it. As I understand it from the context of Season 1, Fushiguro is able to create shikigami from shadows. These creatures serve to fight for or support him in battle for a combined total of 10 unique species of shikigami, though the limit of how many of each he can create are unknown, i.e. 2 wolves, several frogs, 1 elephant, etc. For the most part, he seems to be able to use these abilities in tandem with each other, drawing sometimes on 2 at a time when the occasion calls for it, and can fight alongside them, which, as commented on by Sukuna, is unique for a shikigami user. These abilities seem to form from a combination of inspiration, creativity, and utility, as each species serves a particular purpose and can seemingly be thought up and replaced should his shikigami die. Case in point, Fushiguro's snake shikigami after Sukuna yeeted it to death. A point that's not touched on too often for its lack of flashiness is that Fushiguro's shadows are also serving the purpose of creating a separate space between reality and the realm of shadows, wherein he can hide various weapons and tools for combat later on, as seen in the Kyoto Goodwill Event Arc, further adding complexity to Fushiguro's combat style. This combination of physical prowess, assassin-like tool use, and shadow manipulation all prove that as Fushiguro gains confidence in his abilities, he's able to keep up with curses and other sorcerers alike who seemingly should be beyond his level. And we the viewer can see this growth, from being tossed around by a seemingly nominal curse and fleeing in the face of a special grade curse, good idea, to later going toe to booted toe with curses that anyone other than Gojo might struggle with, even if not necessarily victorious in these fights. Fushiguro, like mentioned before, can be stoic and calculating. Compared to Nobara and Yuji, he almost feels like a wallflower. Nobara is loud and confident in her abilities, and Yuji is a happy-go-lucky goof. Both can become serious, but the flashes of personality we do see from Fushiguro are usually subdued and not entirely obvious, though we do get very brief flashes of Fushiguro being modest or funny, often reserved for one-off gags or extras at the end of each episode. But for the most part, Fushiguro remains quiet about his past and feelings, choosing instead to play the part of the silent observer rather than inject his own feelings into the conversation, if not immediately necessary. Why is this? Why is it that by the end of the first season we feel like we know so much more about Nobara and Yuji than we actually do? Nobara, like I covered in my previous video, go watch it, does share a fair amount of backstory and literally screams her feelings at people. And Yuji, for lack of any true backstory, shares enough emotion with us to lead to a mutual understanding.
初めてなんじゃねえかと思って払ったんじゃなくて殺したの。
Fushiguro, on the other hand, gives us very little to work with for most of the story. As previously stated, Fushiguro is introduced in episode 1, but we don't learn nearly a single iota about this boy for a staggering 23 episodes. Oh, there's some juicy bits right here. We're introduced to someone Fushiguro believes is good, Tsumiki. This is his sister, but we don't know that yet and have to infer it for like 15 episodes. But was unfairly cursed. And, funnily enough, the only mention of any of the main trio's fathers comes here, where Megumi alludes to an absent father, who is seemingly off living an unfairly free life. In this moment, in his resolve to stop Sukuna, Megumi reveals that his form of justice, by this logic, will be inherently unfair, choosing to save those he deems as good disproportionately to those he deems undeserving. A bit morally gray, eh? His saving of Itadori in the opening chapters of the story is thus self-edifying more so than an act based purely out of a black and white version of justice. He's like the goddamn Batman of anime. Okay, now let's move on to more serious questions.
どんな女がタイプだ？返答次第では今ここで半殺しにして落っ骨最低でも3年は交流会に引っ張り出す。ちなみに俺はタッパとケツがでかい女がタイプです。
別に好みとかありませんよ。その人に揺るがない人間性があればそれ以上は何も求めません。
This scene is played for laughs, but given what we know about Fushiguro, so far his answer makes total sense. Fushiguro values justice, he values kind-hearted people, and he's learning to accept people based on their character and not on their appearance. This set of values established in him by Tsumiki, seemingly early on in his development, formed the basis for the kind of people he'd be attracted to, both romantically and platonically. As in, looks don't matter. It's what's inside that counts. Of course, Chad Boy McFucking Gorilla Toto doesn't understand this, so... And again, the scary eyes. They're really setting up something here for Fushiguro. Akutami, you son of a gun. Underneath his less than enthusiastic exterior, there lies something. Something that all the big players in the world can sense when Fushiguro gets down to it. And we see all of that come to fruition during the Death Painting arc. In sum, Fushiguro, Nobara, and Yuji visit Fushiguro's hometown and learn of a curse that is seemingly awoke and is now wreaking havoc on the townspeople. In these episodes, we come to learn that Fushiguro's version of justice had already developed here. His stoicism had already emerged and his aptitude for kicking ass was prominently on display, becoming the bully's bully during his time in middle school. You know what they say, if you can't beat him harder. It's here that we get a little more insight into Megumi's past. Gojo, you're telling me that this boy is part of the Zenin family? As in, these abusive fucks? These same jerks that would cast out Mai and Maki for not being good enough? Yeah, that sounds about right. From this brief conversation, we learn that Megumi's dad and Tsumiki's mom had a relationship that ended in divorce. Both parents split and Megumi's dad sold him to the Zenin family for some easy... Did I just say fammy?
Who are you? This is my family. I found it all on my own.
The Zenin family for some easy money. Did Fushiguro's dad really not think the kids would find out? Gojo put an end to this and offered Megumi and Tsumiki enough money to take care of themselves, if Megumi would study to be a sorcerer. It's a modern-day Piccolo and Gohan kind of moment.
Goku! He doesn't even look after his own kid. I look after his kid more than he does.
Okay, so remember this scene and this scene and all the times Sukuna looked at Megumi like this? No? Okay. Well, the payoff is here. After learning that his sister Tsumiki might be targeted by the same curse that is attacking the people of his hometown and being left unable to defend herself at all because of the curse mark she's been afflicted with, Megumi realizes he needs to put an end to the curse ASA motherfucking P if he wants to keep his sister safe. So after leaving to solo it himself and being tracked down by his buds, they make it to Yasuachi Bridge. cross the cursed spirit's domain, and after getting separated by 2 of the death painting bros, Megumi is left to fight an even stronger variant of the same cursed spirit he failed to face earlier.
めぐみはさ、実力もポテンシャルもユージと遜色ないと思ってんだよね。意識の問題だと思うよ。本気の出し方知らないでしょ。少し未来の強くなった自分を想像できない。君の奥の手のせいかな。最悪自分が死ねば全て解決できると思ってる。死んで勝つと死んでも勝つわ。全然違うよ、めぐみ。
Fushiguro, now no longer holding himself back, reveals that like the cursed spirit he's fighting right now, he's also able to release an incomplete domain and goes berserk. The fight concludes, Megumi collapses, and after recovering enough to make it home with Nobara and Yuji, they prepare for their next mission with Gojo, which will mark the beginning of Season 2. So guys, thanks for sticking around to watch. If you made it all the way to the end, please remember, smash the like button, click subscribe for more, and Sukuna's fingers crossed that the next part of the series won't take so long to get out. Get it? Sukuna's fingers crossed? Right? Anyway, see you guys in the next one. Peace.